So this week we are getting started with week 4 and we are continuing working on our labor number 2. So I thought I'd record a video that walks a little bit through what we'll be doing this week. So we're here on week 4 in Moodle. The first thing that we're going to do is review the labor number 2 project handout. So I wanted to remind everyone that we'll be working on labor number 2 project from weeks 2 through week 7. So your drafts, your rough draft, and your final draft of the essay will be due in week 7, and we will be working on components of the essay throughout the next 6 weeks, or I guess 5 weeks now. No, 4 weeks now, sorry. So the big labor that we're working on, the essay, is a review essay about a text that you would recommend to one of your peers. So this is a breakdown of the assignment. It tells you about your audience, your purpose, and the process. The final needs to be roughly 1,000 words and utilize the primary source, so the piece of literature that you're recommending, and at least one other outside source. So this can be a review of a book from like Goodreads, it could be a piece of critical response to the book, it could be really anything, but we're going to use the primary source and at least one outside source. So, and then it breaks down the process for you here. And some of this we'll be working on through the next weeks, but you should be thinking about your project and maybe starting to do some brainstorming, maybe starting to do some outlining, things like that to help you get started with the project so that you're not just writing the essay in a night or two the day before the rough draft is due. So last week we started this, and we started by reading some information about, well, we started this 2 weeks ago. We read information about the canon and the Western literary canon and the idea of this kind of monolithic body of literature that people strive to be included in, but that we know is pretty limited in its representation of different genders and races and ethnicities and sexualities and things like that. So we're questioning, or we're toying with this idea of like, how valuable is the Western literary canon? And are the things that I read and would recommend to read, are these things considered to be a part of the canon or not? And if so, or if not, then how valuable is it that we keep relying on the canon, and how can we adapt it to make it more modern? So last week we read some myths, and this week we are going to read some fables and folk tales, and we're going to work on some brainstorming for your project. So I think this week should take about 4 to 5 hours total. I want you to go ahead and review this project handout. We're going to read some fables by Rudyard Kipling, and we're going to read some folk tales. We have got The Lazy Boy of a Kokari folktale, and how the stories came to be. And then we're going to read Antelope Woman as well. And then there's a quick little video for you to watch that talks about how to write a book review, since that's the project that we're working on and the brainstorming that we're going to be doing for this week. I think it's important that we have some more information about that. So the 2 tasks for this week are the review brainstorm and the reading response. I should say, sorry, the 2 writing tasks this week, the review brainstorm and the reading response. So we're going to click the week 4 class discussion forum. And we can see here the reading responses, which we started last week, and they were really amazing to read. I encourage you to go back and read through some of your peers' comments and ideas about the different literature that we read. I know that I didn't make commenting a required part of the class this semester, but I really do hope that you engage with one another on the discussion posts. Be sure, in addition to explaining why the text is significant, that you also talk about who was present in the piece. So whose voices are present, whose are missing, what's another piece of literature you would tell people to read from this genre. So we're kind of expanding our ideas here of what literature is, right? So that's one of the discussion posts, and then we also have the review brainstorming. So for this, we're going to start brainstorming some ideas for use in our labor number 2. So thinking about your book review, I want you to think about who your audience is. So describe your peers, What are some texts that you would suggest to your audience, your peers, and why? And would you consider that text or the text to be part of the Western literary canon? Why or why not? So those are our two main writing projects, or writing focuses for the week, sorry. And then, of course, the labor log, which is due 12 of 16 weekly to maintain your beat in the class. So that's what we're doing today. We're getting started with more of the actual writing of our labor number 2, the book or the literature review. And there is one other thing I wanted to talk about. I know that some folks have come to me saying that they're confused about how to use different technologies and things like that, since everything is online predominantly this semester. And I wanted to remind you that there is the MPC Technology Hub Assistance Center that is available at each campus and center. And here are the different campuses and centers, the rooms, and the days where you can, the days and times where you can go to these places to get assistance. So you'll be able to go, if you're able to go to a campus or center location, you will of course be social distancing. You'll be required to wear a face covering, but you can get help with things like Zoom and Moodle and Microsoft Word, and maybe also some help with like Google Docs and Google Drive if you're having things like that. And if you want to meet with me, you can set up a time and you can go to these locations at these times and use the equipment there. So I have this link provided to you on Moodle. It's up here under the Welcome to English 102 important information, technical support, and it is right here, this Word document, and it has all of the dates, times, and locations when you can go to the technology hubs for additional assistance. And as always, we have, for our class, we've got the weekly student hours. You can set up a time to meet with me, and there are 2 different Zoom sessions where you can come on, ask questions, maybe collaborate with some of your peers, and those are open to everyone. And if for some reason those times don't work for you, please reach out to me. We can schedule a phone conversation, we can schedule a Zoom meeting, or you can just ask me questions via email as well. So remember, I'm here to help, and if there's anything I can do, just let me know.